When testing ignition and fuel control inputs into the PCM, make sure you use a vehicle-specific schematic. Coil-on plug systems have individual ignition coils for each cylinder, and DIS uses one coil for every 2 cylinders, and they're built as one unit. Injectors have individual circuit controls. The PCM uses the camshaft position sensor to determine cylinder number 1. The camshaft sensor goes high, then low once every 720 degrees of engine rotation. The PCM uses the crankshaft position sensor to determine engine RPM. The PCM uses both the crank and the cam sensors to determine which coil and injector to fire. More about that in a minute. The crankshaft position sensor goes high then low every 10 degrees of engine rotation. There is one missing tooth on the gear that's used to create a signature pattern. The signature pattern comes up once every 360 degrees of engine rotation. Now more about that cam and crank used to select the coil and the injector to fire. The top trace is a cam sensor, that's green. The yellow trace on the bottom is the crankshaft position sensor. We're showing you 720 degrees of engine rotation there. The PCM recognizes cylinder number 1 by comparing the cam and the crank. You can see when the crankshaft position sensor has its signature, the camshaft goes high. And then 360 degrees later, the signature comes back and the camshaft goes low. And through this, the computer knows which cylinders to fire. So the camshaft position sensor is an input into the PCM, and so is the crankshaft position sensor. And the PCM uses this to calculate the ignition coil firing, as well as the injector firing. If the cam signal isn't present, test it. Test its circuits and repair or replace as required. If the crankshaft signal isn't there, test it and its circuits and repair or replace as required.